I'll just help.
Exactly. Okay. So this is Ellie. She's an MD PhD student with us, and so she's helping me building a computer specifically for AI. So the main component is that we want to have a graphics card that can support the calculations and trainings of neural networks. So do you know what we're doing? Did you ever build a computer before?
No. I haven't ever built a computer before.
So Ellie actually built a boat before, but she never built a computer. Interesting.
Yeah, I have a wood shop, but not a.
Okay.
Not a
so how did you learn how to build a boat?
YouTube.
YouTube.
Right?
Okay.
I did exactly what we were doing. I looked up YouTube videos on how to build a boat.
Okay, so there you go. So you can learn how to build a boat or like a computer, and a computer is much easier to build. So in general, we only need a couple of components that are important. So the main thing is in this big box. This is just the case, and then as another important component, we have a main board. So this is kind of the like a electronic board where you stick all the components together. So you put the CPU on there, and there's slots for memory, hard drives, and so on. So this is this, and we can put an explanation on the side in the video so people can kind of see the specs. So for this computer build, we chose this main board, and then as a CPU, we just chose a pretty cheap i5, because if you do these calculations, most of the calculations run on the CPU, so we don't need a really powerful CPU. So this is just saving a bit of money.
Yeah.
Right. So, but it's still a good CPU, right? You can't really do much wrong there. Then we have a hard drive. This is an SSD. So I think SSDs are nice because they're just faster than a normal disk drive.
Mm-hmm.
But they're smaller, so you can also combine two, where you have a normal hard drive for big data.
Yeah.
And then you have this for storage, but I would recommend an SSD.
And how big is that?
This one is 2 terabytes.
Okay, so it's plenty big.
So this is actually really large. Yeah,
right, it's plenty big to hold all of your massive data set as it's being fed into your pipeline.
Yeah, actually, I didn't realize this. I thought
that's
it's
a nice
much
hard drive.
smaller. Yeah, this is pretty good. Very important screws. Yeah. What else do we have? Oh yeah, okay. Then this is the power supply. So this is what takes the power from an outlet, and then it distributes it to the components. What else? Oh yeah, this is the cool thing. So if you want to take it out, so this is the CPU that we're gonna use, and so specifically this is a 1080 graphics card, and so if you look for cards for AI applications, this is the most important component in the computer. So you always want to have Nvidia, even if you hear that there's some other good companies for TensorFlow applications, this is more or less what you want to use.
The standard. Okay.
Yeah. And so anything, so now there's a new generation, this is a 1080, but so nowadays it's 2080 or 2070, and the more money you spend on this, the better. Generally, that's kind of the rule. And they're also very cost efficient. So even if you buy the most expensive one, it will have the most bang for your buck.
Okay.
Right, and you can play computer games on this.
Okay.
Which we don't do. But yeah, you
of course not. But you could.
Yeah, but
so you've saved some money with the CPU, but the GPU is where you want to spend your money.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So and then so this is really the whole idea of this build. So all the other components are not that important. The CPU is important. The GPU is important, right? So.
And do you know about ballpark what this cost?
So as I said, so this is a 1080 GTX.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the current price was back then. When we got it, it was $700.
Okay, so still under $1,000.
So if you get the newest generation, so now it's 2080 GTX Ti, they go for about $1,300 to $1,400. And you can also get lower ones that I call 2070 or 2060. And they will be a bit slower, but it's still good.
So memory. What about the memory? Did
okay,
we
so
cover that?
it feels like a cooking show, kind of. So anyway, so for the memory, So memory is also really important. And so in order to save the models that you're building in memory, it has to swap between the memory in the graphics card and the memory in your computer. So you generally want sufficient amount of data depending what you train, right? It depends on the type of data that you're using. So in this build, we use 32 gigabytes. The more the better. The good thing is you can usually upgrade afterwards, right? So now we put in 32, but we could add another 32 if you want to later on.
Okay.
Which is different than like a graphics card because we would take it out.
Right. I mean, this is what it is.
Right.
And we can't really change it unless we replace the unit.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But memory.
And
okay.
So this is just upgradable, and like so this is why we start with like 32, but you can add more. But it's kind of pricey right now. So.
Do you have to keep in mind when you're choosing a motherboard how much memory you may want to upgrade to, or is it pretty much standard across?
I'm not. So this version supports 4 slots for memory.
Okay.
And we can see it later in like the close-up. But there might be mainboards that only support 2.
Okay.
So
you have to keep that in.
Matters. So this is also when you want to make sure you upgrade the memory. You kind of want to use the same type of memory, so you don't want to mix different brands, right? That can get you into trouble. So.
Okay.
But in general, that's what it is. Okay. So maybe we can like open the box, and then we can have some close-ups on the.
Yeah, sounds
specs.
good.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so now we take the last screw out from the back, and then this should pop out on the side. Okay, so now we have the side panel off, and this is the inside. So there isn't really that much to see, so there's a couple of cables. These have to be hooked up to the main board, so they control the power buttons and LEDs, and yeah, we'll look at that in more detail in a second. There's a bay for an SSD, so this is perfect. That's what we want to use later. And
I notice you have this cooling fan here. Where does that get hooked up to?
Yeah, so this also goes into the main board. So that one has a couple of connectors. So actually, this specific case has multiple vents. So there's one active vent here, and then we have a couple of vents here on the side. So okay, let's I guess look at the main board next.
So speaking of cooling and venting,
yeah.
So when you're using a massive graphics, I noticed that this has fans on it as well.
Yeah.
So when you're considering a tower for something like this, do you need to make sure that the tower, are there special towers for a graphics card this big, or are they pretty much designed to handle something like this?
Yeah, so this should be no problem.
Okay.
Like thermally, especially with all these vents, it should be no problem.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so here's the main board. So this is basically what we have, right? So when we look at the major pieces, so this is where the memory would go, right? So in this case, we can see we have 4 of these slots, right?
Yeah.
And this is where the CPU is going. And there's like this weird mechanism that just, which has a small lever, and we just basically push the CPU in there. And then this is what's sticking out on the back of the computer. So this will have all the ports like USB, ports for LAN, stuff like this, some like older ports for mice and stuff. And then the silver one is where the actual GPU will go on, right? So these are PCIe ports, is that right? Yeah, I think so. And actually this card has 3 of them. So actually some mainboards support multiple graphics cards. But in this video we only cover the build of a single GPU build. And then we have some other ports. So this is like for power supply. What else is important? So we might go over them when we plug in everything. And then these very small ones, this is where you need the handbook. This is where you kind of put all the small pins from the casing that we had before. So the first step of the build is to put this into this casing, right? And so how we do this is we have these small spacer screws that will build kind of the platform for this thing to go inside, right? So this is probably going in somewhere like this, right? So let's do that.
So this little piece is a spacer?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so we have two types. We have our screws and then our spacers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So we start with these spacers. So if I take the main board, and then if we look for the holes in there, let's see. So you see kind of the points, right? Yeah, it's a bit hard to see on the camera.
This is kind of an important part, so I kind of want to show them like up close, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so could you point out again?
So we can kind of see that there's these holes in the main board, right? And there's multiple of them, right? So there's one here, there's one here, there's one here, there's two here, right? So these are the ones that are used to anchor the main board to the chassis, right? And like, so basically we just have to, get them like basically right. So we know, okay, there has to be two here, right? And two here, and two here. So in total there should be 6. Oh, there's another one, so it's 7. So if I remove this, there should be corresponding ones, and they are, right? So it's basically these two, and these two.
Great.
Right, pretty easy. Okay, so let's put in some screws.
A few moments later.
Now we have all the screws in. So now we just stick on the main board. And be careful because there is electronics on the back, so you don't want to break anything.
So you have the spacers in, and then the screws will go on top of this?
Yeah. So this is basically just sitting on top of there. So you want to make sure that your connectors, like these ports, are sticking out correctly in the end. But this should be it. So now I have these screws. The next step is actually adding components to it. So one of the major components is the CPU, right? And this packaging is actually really funny because, right? Okay, so there we go. So the CPU is actually pretty small. The biggest part about this is the cooler. That's kind of the, like a piece of metal with like a fan on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's this, right? And so if you look at this, right, this is the fan. Right, you get a good look. Right? And don't touch this part. So down here we have something that's kind of liquid, and it's like a cooling paste. So it's kind of like a metal gel.
So you're talking about the gray design there?
It's like sticky, and it will kind of build the contact onto the CPU and then cool it more efficiently. Right? So don't touch it. In this case, it's really just there's no film on top. On your CPU, there might be something you have to peel off first. Or sometimes they also provide a syringe with the material, so you have to apply a little bit onto that surface, and then you push it down later, right? So this is this. And then don't throw out this, because the CPU is still in here.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's
there it is.
That's it, right? So this is the CPU. So it's pretty small, right? Yeah. So let's take it out. Okay. So there we are, right? That's the CPU. Nice, neat packaging, really. It's cool. Okay. So we want to put this in here, right? So this is the point where we want to put it. So there is a small shield on top that we want to take off first. It just pops off. Right, it's a small piece of plastic. Okay, so how this works is there is like this metal pin, and we have to take that out, and then we can open this mechanism.
So let's get a closer look at that.
Yeah, let me try to get that on. Okay, you got it? Okay, so here is this metal pin, so I can pop this
Sorry,
out.
can you start again?
Sure.
I was moving around.
No
Okay,
problem.
now I'm ready.
Okay, so this is where the CPU goes, now that we took the base plate off. And so we want to open this, this pin, which locks down this mechanism. So if I open this, you can now see there's something moving around. And so we can pop this open now, right? So pretty low tech for like a computer. So now in order to get the orientation right, because this is square, right? This could kind of go in here anyway. There's a tiny arrow on the corner, and there's also these notches on the side that tell us what orientation is that is correct. Okay, so let's see if we can find how to do this. Yeah, so by looking at the notches, I know that I want to go in here, and you know, the metal thing obviously has to come out on top. So all these like golden pins are on the bottom. So this should fit like very snugly in there, right? So now we can close the tray again, right? So this is basically all there is to it. So we, you know, just put it carefully on here.
So you didn't press the CPU down very much. It just kind of sits.
Yeah, we didn't do anything
Floats on
yet.
the top, but
Yeah.
fits well.
So what I did is here I moved the pin back, right? So moving the pin just moves this forward and backward, right? And there is this screw here, and these teeth, they want to go under here. So now if I move this pin, you see that the teeth go under, and now there's pressure that's building on these sides, and that's it. So now I just push it down very hard, and that's it. So now the thing is locked, and the CPU is anchored in the mainboard. That's it. Okay, so now, you know, that was the scary part. Now we just have to add the fan. So it has this power cable, right? And what we want to do is we just want to push it on top. And there isn't really a wrong or right direction for this. I think it would like fit in any direction, but you can see there's these small holes. And so there's these mechanisms, you just push it in and then the thing is in there. So it's like, it's really simple. So we just like align it so the points are kind of like fitting the holes. And then we just push down on those. That's it. So now the CPU is mounted and the cooler is on. So that was that. Okay, that's pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
So now we install the power supply. So this is usually just like a big brick with a fan in it. And it usually comes right on top or like behind the mainboard, right? So if we open that up, it should have attached a bunch of cables. And those we need to plug to all these external components. Okay, what's this? Something.
So here are all the cables.
Yeah, so we'll see which ones we need once we get there. Some.
Right.
Okay.
So this thing is pretty heavy.
Yeah, so these are like, yeah, they're heavy. There's a lot of metal things.
More cables in there, I think.
Okay, tons of cables. And you know, like some of these, they will have the cables already attached, and you can't take them off. That's fine too, right? It doesn't matter. Just make sure that they're not like all over your box, so the air can flow through it, but they're not attached. Okay, yeah, you can figure out like where does it go. So, yeah.
Oh, I have to guess?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, so here's the plug. So if I were to make a best guess, this is the bottom of the tower. So I'm gonna guess that the fan is probably blowing out the vent, and then we're gonna go right here.
Okay. So the
right?
the main question is how we attach it to the board, right? I mean, it's definitely correct that the plug has to go outside.
Or does the fan blow?
So I'm just wondering. I didn't
probably.
see it myself yet. So.
Well, it looks like there's something that's these little there are little rubber pads here.
Yeah. So
ready
this
to
is
accept.
because this is the bottom. So we'll like just sit on the floor. I'm kind of surprised.
That's interesting. Maybe.
Is there like any screw holes?
There are
Not really.
not really any screw holes. So it might.
Very
well,
strange.
that's very strange.
Oh no, it's on the back. Okay, so we're good. So see here on the exit, there's points here.
Oh, okay.
So here we can definitely screw them through.
So we'll screw them through the back
Through
of the
here,
case. Okay. And so the fan should be pointing up and blowing over the motherboard? I imagine.
So I think the floor of the chassis is too restricted, and we have very good airflow from the system. So I think this will work.
And so.
So yeah, now we have these points aligning here, right? So we can put screws through here, and they should be holding everything in place.
So when you were purchasing these components, how did you make sure? Is it standard? Are they completely, are most components you would purchase completely interchangeable, or do you have to make sure that they're compatible?
Yeah, so the main board is the key thing that you have to pay attention of. So the main board has to be compatible with the CPU. And so that's something you have to look in the description and make sure that they fit. But if you get a modern main board, they will fit all the modern Intel chips.
Okay.
But if you would get a CPU that's not from Intel, you will need a different main board. So you have to look out for that. But we'll put the components that we use in the description, so if you would use that, that would be compatible. Right?
So what about the power supply? Is it pretty standard? Our power supply is pretty standard across, or do we need a bigger one for because we have such a powerful
CPU? Yeah, that's a good point. So this one, I want to say, it doesn't say. Why does it say?
Oh, can we?
Yeah, I'm looking. Oh yeah, okay. So this one is yeah, okay. So this one is it says like 650, and this is the watts that the power supply can support to the system. And so if you have a strong GPU, so they draw a lot of energy, right? They draw as much energy as like 2 light bulbs, like incandescent light bulbs that nobody's using
you're
anymore,
right, yeah.
right? So, and then all the other components also use energy, so you want at least 650 or 700 watts for the power supply. If you get something that's only 400, then it might happen that the system will just crash because it doesn't have enough power. So that's a good point. So this is 650 watt power supply, and that should be good for this system. So here, this is the handbook of the main board, and all of those will have schematics that explain what the pins mean, right? So in this case, on our page, we have like a pretty good description of these small pins, and these will match with all of these pins that we have here, right? So we have to put them in the right place.
Okay.
So you can kind of see that if I turn this around a bit, it's a bit tricky to see, but you see this is kind of what we want to.
Okay, so you're just looking at the picture and it matches what you see here.
Yeah. So this is kind of important, just get the orientation right. But this is always a bit tricky, and like sometimes it might be wrong. So then you just have to take them out and put them in the right way. I don't think you can break anything, it will just not work if you push the power button or something. That happened last time, where like, big moment, and then you push the button and nothing happens.
Nothing happened.
Yeah. Then you have to like change it. Okay, so we'll like do that now, that's gonna take a bit.
A few moments later.
So now we have these fans that we have to hook up. And so this case had 3 fans, so we have to find 3 fan plugs in the main board. And they're all over the place, and we'll just find them and hook them up. And then this one is the CPU fan, and that one has a dedicated plug on the main board. So in this case, it's like right in here, and it says CPU fan. So the other ones are called system fan. So you just want to make sure that this is separate. And you can also see that this one is using 4 pins. The other one only used 3, and then one was free, which we don't use. Okay, so it goes in here.
So these are for larger, like more traditional actual disk drives, right?
Right, so now we want to install the hard drive, and we're using an SSD, and they're very small. So if I grab one, so you know, they're like pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
They weigh nothing. If you take it, it's like, you would think it's empty.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this is 2 terabytes.
And it's 2 terabytes, yeah. So, so this casing has like a small tray sitting on the side, in which we can mount it. I think there's a weird clicking mechanism to do this. I need 2 hands for this. There we go. So yeah, so there's a small tray, and we just put it in, and then we can put it back up. So pretty straightforward. And then we have these connections here. And so the cable to connect this up came with the motherboard in our case. And so this is like this thing here, I hope. So in this case, we have this serial ATA, like SATA cable. And yeah, we should be able to just like plug that in. So you kind of see there's this like small one. So we just push that in. Yeah, so that worked. Pretty easy. Okay, good enough. Okay, and then this SATA, we just have to find one. So there's these SATA 3 plugs. So this is where we want to put it in. It goes like this. Tuck. Done. These are the memory ones. So you have to make sure that you get the right number of pins. So there is this memory that's for laptops. That's a bit shorter. So make sure you get the right dimensions. So as you can see, there is, I don't know, can you see it? So there's like the black and the gray. So there's 2 black and 2 gray slots. And you want to always, if you put in 2, you want to use the same color. Because then they can, I don't know, work faster together or something. So it's better that way. That's what I know. Don't ask me why, but yeah.
Great. All right. I believe it.
Okay, so this is like small pins.
So it also looks like this notch is off center, so you know the orientation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's your guide.
Yeah, I don't think we can put it in the wrong way. I mean, with force you can put everything the wrong way, I guess.
Yeah. So basically we have forced nothing onto this.
So this is always a little bit tricky. So you want to be careful here. You don't want to exert too much force, but it often requires like a little bit of push.
So once you're able to snap those little levers back on, then you know you've got it.
I mean, you definitely have to be a bit careful, but like you do have to like push it a little bit. Just open like the things on the side, but they're open. It's good. You kind of want to like put like even pressure on it.
Distribute. Okay.
Yeah.
Like this.
Like push it a little bit. Yeah, it's normal. Like that's a normal feeling. I always have to do the same.
Being terrified of cracking the motherboard.
Yeah, you don't.
Or the memory.
You don't want to put like crazy amounts of pressure on, but like.
Do you
so
kind
sometimes
of like
it helps.
shift it or wiggle it a little, or
it helps to push one side in first.
Okay.
See, so you were nearly there, right? So that's it. Just make sure that they're really locked in. But yeah, so this looks good. Okay, so now memory is in. Last part is the graphics card, right? So that's what we came for. Where is it? Oh, it's right there. Okay. Oh, we should peel off some of the plastics first, right?
Right.
You go.
Okay. All right. I always like
The
this
fun part. Yeah.
Every time I get something like a new screen or something.
You know, some people have these microwaves and they never peel.
They never peel it off.
Nothing. It makes me mad.
Well, yeah. When we moved into our apartment in New York City, it's a 10-year-old apartment. I think the appliances are original, and I peeled off the dishwasher plastic.
Ooh.
Yeah. Suddenly very new looking. So what? I feel like this isn't really protecting any of the critical components. Just for.
I mean, often they have like LEDs, so they're shiny and cool looking
Okay.
when you turn them on. So that has to be.
Oh, so this
protected.
probably. Do you think that lights up?
Yeah. Also, our casing has a window, so you can actually.
Oh, you can see it in action.
Look. So now here we have these slots, and they're closed, so we can take these out to make room for the ports of the card.
Okay.
So maybe if we hold in the card first, so we see which slots it would take up.
So.
Yeah.
Looks
So
like
it
it goes
would.
in this orientation. Like.
Okay. All right. I think so. It's the
So
top
it's
two
the top
slots.
two. All right. Okay. Now I'm a.
Okay. So the tough part is getting in between the main board and the
Yeah.
housing, but then it should just go in.
So, it's almost like. Why don't you take a look?
Okay.
It's almost like it's like the main board is almost slightly tilted or something, which doesn't seem like it could be. 'Cause
I mean,
it's-
if we can probably get it loose a little bit and then slide it over.
But yeah, and see what you think. Maybe you can get it.
So this orientation is definitely correct.
Nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, just a little bit of jiggling.
Well, okay.
Now we just have to hook it up with power. So let's see. So there should be one main power supply. So this is for the motherboard. This is like this wide kind of thing. Right? It has like a lot of pins. Right?
And it says MB.
Yeah.
Oh, this is pretty obvious where these go then.
It
Based
should be
on-
fairly obvious, yeah.
So that one goes here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see. So it's going here. So much obvious. Okay, tack. Okay. And this has to go in like so.
So how did you decide that it was that orientation?
Yeah. So if you see there is like shapes, they have a certain shape.
Oh, okay.
So they will
So they're
only
not
fit in
perfectly
one.
square.
Yeah,
Okay.
they will only fit one, and then there's this nose, and this will clip under there on the side. So. Again, like don't put too much force on there, so you don't wanna, crack the main board. Okay. Okay, so that's that. The thing that needs the most electricity is obviously the graphics card here. But
Looks like we have a power port there.
yeah, let's see. So this one, this is the power supply for I think for the hard drive. Yeah. So this cable here, like with this flat one, this goes into the hard drive for power, and this one goes into the thing here.
Okay, and it says SATA on it?
Yes,
Okay.
it does.
Oh, so they're all, okay, so they're all
Yeah.
labeled, that's nice.
But so in their chains, if you have multiple, you just put multiple on the same cable, right? But we only have one hard drive, and we already plugged it in, so it's gonna be difficult. So what we can see is this one requires 8 pins. So this is this one here, right? Other ones might need more, so some might actually need 10. But since this is not the super powerful one, we're good with just 8. So now we have plugged in the hard drive, we plugged in the graphics card,
And the motherboard.
we plugged in the motherboard, and now what's still missing is the CPU. And the CPU has a plug here. So this is usually reserved. It's somewhere like close to the CPU, so it's right here. So let's see if we can find the CPU cable. You found it? It says CPU on it. So I think we installed all the components. We hooked everything up as it's supposed to be, hopefully. So now we can just like put it back. We put a lid on, and then we can plug it in and see if it works, right? Okay, so now we put the thing together. What do you say? Like, it was pretty easy, right? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel like I could figure it out. If
Okay.
I was patient with myself, I totally feel like I could figure it out now.
Yeah. So what was the only thing you felt like was a little bit like weird that like you think somebody would encounter when they build something and it makes them like freak out a little or
I think just
worried?
pressing things into the motherboard, and it does bend
Yeah.
a little, which is a little concerning.
Okay.
But it was stronger than,
Yeah.
probably a little stronger than we think.
We hope we didn't try turning it on yet, so it might,
This might not be moved, but yeah.
But, okay, so that makes sense. So like that's one thing. If you've never done it before, some things feel a little bit dicey, but in general, like things basically just fit how they're supposed to fit.
Yeah, it seemed like, at least with the components you ordered, it seemed like everything was pretty standard, and you just figure it out. You just look at the plug and fit it where it seems like it should fit.
Yeah. I mean, I
pretty
think
cool.
this is pretty much it. Like, you shouldn't be afraid putting stuff together. Like, you can't really do much wrong. Like, don't use too much force.
Yeah.
So once when we were kids, my brother and me, we built a computer, and then we couldn't get the memory in, and then he used like a hammer.
Did it work?
And
Did the computer turn on?
he did get it in, but I think it damaged some stuff, so it wasn't great. But yeah. So this is it. So now we're just gonna install it in the lab and see if it runs up. Potentially, we might have to change the power switch connectors or something. We'll figure that out. But so this is it, right? So we have like a nice case. We can see all the components inside, and so this should be a really potent computer for neural network calculations. So if we train models, it should be 10, 20 times faster than on a really fast CPU, right? So thanks for watching.
Thanks, Alex, for
Thanks
teaching. I feel like I can actually do this now. This is cool.
Yeah. I
Thank you.
mean, it often just takes like seeing somebody do it. Like,
Yeah.
There's some.
It takes away some of the mysticism.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
sort
also
of.
like feeling it a little bit. That's the thing you can't really get from watching the video, right? Like where you say like it feels weird.
Yeah, you just have to try it.
Try it. Don't apply too much force. Just like apply constant pressure. Like wiggle a little bit, and then it'll be good.
All right. Well,
Okay.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah. No. Thank you. Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Yeah. Okay, it's running.
Should we try it?
Yeah, go.
All right. Oh, wait, I have to find the power button first.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah. Yeah, we did it wrong.
No.
Okay, let's flip the switch.
I hope you got that on camera.
Yeah. Okay, try it again.
Okay. Yay! It's on. Okay, yeah, so then you need to figure out what kind of operating system you want to install.
Right. So for data mining purposes, we're going to use Ubuntu, but I think that would be a good second video.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. Stay tuned.